Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa Grant. I'm 29 and Christmas still echoes in my chest. The smell of roasted ham lingered in the air. Holiday music hummed softly behind the clatter of silverware. The tree lights blinked quietly in the corner. Mom stood holding gold envelopes like miniature blessings. She passed one to each person. My brother, my sister-in-law, even our niece glued to her phone. Then she paused, smiled sharply, and skipped me. You barely do anything around here, she said. Laughter rippled around the room, low and familiar. I sipped my wine, slow and steady. I didn't argue. I didn't flinch. I simply said, "You're right, Mom. I don't count." Later, they all slept comfortably upstairs. I opened my laptop instead. That night, I didn't smash ornaments. I quietly dismantled the system. Before we go further, tell me, where are you watching from? Echoes of life feel stronger when I know the world my listeners come from. The house finally quieted after midnight. Only the TV hummed softly, a forgotten Christmas movie playing on low. I sat alone in my robe. My coffee had gone cold hours ago. The kitchen lights felt harsh. Everything smelled like leftover ham, with faint traces of cold potatoes lingering. But my mind was sharp. I opened my laptop. The glow hit my face like the truth. Every shared account appeared instantly. Mom's utilities, Dad's emergency fund, the grocery card everyone used freely. My sister's so-called business fund, labeled as startup support. I clicked its history. Spa trips, nails, weekend getaways. Not one single business receipt. 23 automatic transfers were linked to my name. Quietly created, silently maintained, expected every month. I hovered over the first account. My hand didn't shake. Delete. Pause. Close. Each click sounded almost musical, like scissors cutting a knot, a cord snapping after years of tension. I moved to the next account, then another. The pattern became strangely soothing, a private ritual of release. At 2:47 a.m., the final message arrived. All linked accounts disabled. The words felt unreal, like someone had finally spoken for me. I leaned back slowly. Silence returned to the kitchen, but it wasn't heavy. It felt earned. Before heading to bed, I typed one line, "Merry Christmas." I finally understand gratitude. Then I set my phone face down. Morning came with the smell of burnt toast. Mom's voice cracked through the hallway. "Alyssa, the cards aren't working." Dad had called the bank again. My sister frantically refreshed her screen, over and over. Not a single one of them asked if I was okay. They only asked why their money had stopped moving. That's when it hit me. The audit wasn't revenge. It was proof. Morning sunlight didn't soften anything. It only highlighted the chaos. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the counter. 37 unread messages blinked angrily. All from family. Not one asking about me. Bank says our accounts are frozen. What did you do? How do you expect us to live? You went too far, Alyssa. Even my boss texted, "Your family keeps calling the office. Everything okay?" I laughed softly. They never reached out when I collapsed last spring. Not a single message. Not a single visit. But holiday money disappears, and suddenly I'm everyone's emergency. My stomach tightened. That old reflex stirred. The one honed over years of guilt. The whisper in my ear, "Fix it." But I didn't move. I opened my laptop instead. The folder waited on my desktop. Family records 2019 to 2024. 5 years of receipts stared back. Electric bills, medical copays, tuition gaps, mortgage shortfalls, loan screenshots. Every transaction logged, every promise documented. I attached the file to an email addressed to Mom, Dad, Claire, subject line for clarity. My finger stayed steady. I typed a single line. "These are the numbers you forgot." Then I hit send. Minutes later, Dad replied, "You kept records." I answered immediately, "You taught me accountability." An hour passed. Then the knock came. Sharp, uneasy, predictable. I opened the door slowly. My sister stood there, eyes swollen. Her arrogance from Christmas dinner had vanished. "You embarrassed us," she whispered. I stepped aside, just enough for her to see the wall behind me. Rows of unopened thank you cards. Letters from students the foundation supported. kids she never bothered to ask about. You embarrassed yourselves, I said. I just stopped paying for it. She blinked hard. Confusion softened into something older. Maybe regret. Maybe shame. I didn't dwell on it. Mom's scared, she murmured at last. She should be, I replied calmly. Fear reveals truth faster than gratitude. She stepped back, defeated. I get it now, she whispered. I didn't answer. Not out of spite, but out of peace. When I closed the door, something shifted. Something different happened. The guilt didn't follow me anymore. It stayed outside with her. I leaned quietly against the wall. For the first time, my silence felt like strength instead of surrender. That was when I realized boundaries aren't walls. They're doors I finally control. If this were your family, what would you do? Comment 1 to keep the peace quietly. Comment 2 to demand proof, even in public. Life wants to know your path. By Friday morning, the gossip had already spread. Small towns don't wait for facts. They spin stories from silence. And my mother fed them eagerly. The ungrateful daughter, the girl who turned on her family, the one who ruined Christmas for everyone. Her favorite role returned quickly. The martyr wrapped in pearls, the victim posing as royalty. I watched the rumors swirl online. Posts shared. Comments whispered. My name twisted into a cautionary tale. None of it shocked me. What had taken me off guard came next. The shelter's post went viral. A bright photo. A grateful caption. Thank you to the Grant family for funding winter housing for single mothers. I stared at the screen. Everyone believed it immediately. The town praised them loudly. Neighbors congratulated them warmly. Mom's friends shared it proudly. None of them knew the truth. I had made that donation quietly at dawn. It wasn't spite or revenge. I simply chose to direct my giving toward people who needed it, not toward those who mocked me over Carol's candles and gift envelopes. Then my phone rang. Mom didn't sound regal this time. Alyssa, people think we did that. Her voice shook slightly. They believe we helped the shelter. You're welcome, I said softly. You can't just, she started. I can, I interrupted. And I did. Silence stretched between us, the kind that reveals old bruises. You skipped me at dinner, I continued, because you confused control with power. But you forgot something important. I learned to build. She breathed sharply. For once, there was no argument, no redirection, no pretending. She just hung up. I set my phone down gently. The quiet no longer stung. It felt deserved. It felt like oxygen returning. Then another call came. Not anger. Not blame. A familiar, warm voice. Hey, kiddo, Uncle Daryl said. We need to talk. He was Grandma Jean's executive, the only relative who asked how I was. You might want to sit, he added. She left something behind for you. My heartbeat slowed. A separate trust, hidden from everyone else. I stayed silent. She knew how they treated you, he said. She planned for your freedom. The trust is worth $1.2 million. I closed my eyes slowly. It wasn't the money that moved me. It was the recognition. Someone in our tangled family had seen me clearly, loved me quietly, protected me without applause. Uncle Daryl paused gently. She always said, you need steady ground. When they took yours away, my breath trembled once. Not from pain, but understanding. They had erased me from their Christmas blessings. Grandma quietly wrote me back in. The trust didn't change my past. It changed my direction. For the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped. I felt in control. Saturday morning arrived quietly. No demands, no guilt-laden messages. Just the soft winter light spilling across the floor. I sat with the notebook open before me. The pages felt strange, blank, entirely mine. I listed everything calmly. Not debts, not obligations. Possibilities. A lawyer, call it 9. Planning session at 10. A quiet lunch alone. Every step felt deliberate, not reactive. By afternoon, an idea began to take shape. A foundation for women living versions of my story. Women cut off financially. Women punished for independence. Women told to be grateful for what they were given. I named it Unwritten Daughters. So many lives never made it into family histories. They were quietly edited out, just like I had been. I drafted the mission statement, clear, firm, empowering without asking permission. Scholarships for displaced students. emergency housing for survivors of financial abuse, career training programs, transparent reporting policies, no strings disguised as love. As I worked, my phone buzzed. A familiar number. Dad. I answered anyway. He was standing in a bank lobby, voices murmuring behind him. You're welcome, he said flatly, for everything we gave you. I gazed out the window. Downtown traffic crawled on without them. You gave me something, I said. A map of what not to become. He inhaled sharply. The call ended. No apology, no accountability, but no control either. I returned to my notes. My pen moved steadily. Purpose had replaced resentment. Later, I mapped out the board structure, funding allocations, annual reviews, grant cycles. Every detail intentional. Unwritten daughters wasn't revenge. It was a correction. A system to ensure others wouldn't depend on unstable love. As evening fell, I finalized the launch plan. Small venue, simple stage, warm lighting, no theatrics. Just truth presented plainly. I printed the first draft, held the pages gently. They felt like reclaimed breath. Then a quiet realization settled over me. I wasn't fighting my family anymore. I had outgrown the battlefield. Their panic was noise. My work was signal. This wasn't about rising above them. This was complete stepping away. And the distance felt like mercy. For them, for me. The world beyond softened gradually. Apartment lights blinked on like gentle reminders. Cars drifted past, softened, almost like half-remembered moments. I closed my folder carefully. Tomorrow would mark the start of something new. I stopped financing their comfort and began creating escape routes for women like me. Launch morning arrived quietly. No rush, no tension. Just steady sunlight streaming through tall windows. The venue felt warm, simple, inviting. Rows of chairs faced a modest stage. A banner hung silently behind me. Unwritten daughters. Empowerment without permission. People trickled in slowly. Young women, single mothers, students carrying heavy stories, faces tentative but hopeful. When I stepped onto the stage, the room fell into a gentle hush. No judge, no parent, no sibling deciding my worth. Just listeners waiting for truth. I drew a slow breath. The microphone felt steady in my hand. For years, I began softly. I mistook endurance for love. I believed that carrying everything proved I belonged somewhere. But belonging without respect is just exhaustion wearing a familiar face. Heads nodded quietly. A few eyes glimmered. You don't need permission, I continued. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to earn a seat at someone else's table. You can build your own. Applause rose gently, honest, not loud or frantic. After the speech, a young woman approached, trembling. Mariah, she said softly, my mother kicked me out for refusing to quit school. Your story, it made me believe. I still have a chance. I placed my hand on her shoulder. You already do, I told her. Outside, camera flashes blinked in the evening light. Reporters asked questions quickly. Across the street, my parents lingered, unsure. My sister stayed quietly behind them. For the first time, I felt nothing sharp. No ache, no longing. Just release. I lifted my hand gently. Not forgiveness, not anger. Just a farewell sketched in air. That evening, I sat by my window again. City lights flickered like tiny victories. Ethan handed me a glass of wine. You did it, he whispered. No, I said softly. We did. Everyone who refused to stay small. He smiled quietly. My revenge hadn't been their ruin. It had been claiming my beginning. If this story resonated, please like the video, share it with someone who feels exhausted, and subscribe to Echoes of Life for the next.